All right, I am here with members of Fuzzysurf. Why don't you guys introduce yourselves and tell us what you do in the band, then introduce the rest of the band. And by the way, thank you for taking some time to chat with us here.
Thank you for having us, Craig.
No, absolutely.
My name is Shawn Laner. I play guitar and sing in the band.
I'm Corey. I play keys in the band.
Then we've got two other members that couldn't make it today. Ben Giddens plays bass and sings in the band. And then Mike Roy plays drums in the band.
Okay, fantastic. So you guys have a new album. Is it coming out at this point in time or out? Sweet Tooth is a new album.
It's coming out.
Okay.
September 8th, yeah. I've unfortunately been pushing it back further and further as developments have been happening in the country and stuff with the pandemic. So, okay. But now we're finally getting it out.
Right. So you've got a couple of singles out, or a number of singles out from it, as it were. So you got She Was Crying Sugar, I Don't Dream Anymore, Electric Trick, and How Do You Decide? So you've got 4 singles out from the forthcoming album.
Yeah, some would call it quadruple.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we just wanted to kind of sneak peek a lot of the songs coming out, and we figured kind of go big because we were planning on doing a lot of stuff this summer, but unfortunately it didn't really happen. But we're still putting out good content, so that's what we kind of wanted to do. And then when we release the album, we're putting out another single at the same time called Surfana. Okay.
So you guys have been a band for a little while. It's as I understand it, Fuzzysurf started off as a solo project.
Right. It was just kind of a bedroom pop project that I was doing, and then I put out an album, but I didn't really think anything of it. Then 88.9 picked it up, and they started playing it. Then I was like, I guess I should form a band at this point. So,
yeah, to bring others in on it.
So how did you pull in the other members of the band?
I was completely new to the Milwaukee music scene. I mean, I went to a lot of shows locally for a couple years, and so I kind of been observing people, but I didn't really know anyone because I would just go to shows by myself. So I just put out basically like online forum ads. I posted like flyers in record shops and stuff. The first person that contacted me was actually Corey to be in the band. So then there was the two of us, and then Ben was next. And actually Ben, I reached out, I saw him on a music forum, and I saw he had just moved to Milwaukee and he played bass and guitar. And so I contacted him. And at first he was kind of hesitant to join the band, but then I convinced him to join. And then Mike was the last one, but he was like soon after. I mean, we formed within like what, Corey, like 2 weeks or something, I think, probably. It was pretty quick.
Yeah, pretty quick. You got down to business.
Yeah.
You know, Ben might not even know this, but maybe this will stir up some animosity between us now that I'm bringing this up. But when you originally posted it, you were just looking for a bass player and a drummer. And at the time, I guess technically this group still exists, but I played bass keys. Like I played the bass part on a keyboard in a group called Push and Pull You in Madison. And so I messaged Shawn. I was like, hey, I don't play bass, and I see you're looking for a bass player, but I dig the record you have. You interested in entertaining the idea of me playing bass on the keyboard? And he was like, nah, but I would be interested in putting keys in the band. So it was definitely not my intention. I was looking to basically usurp Ben before I even knew him. So I'm glad it worked out because I like Ben.
Yeah.
He's okay.
Yeah, I didn't know how many people I was going to be able to get in the band. So I was going for like a trio at first, and then I got lucky. So. Yeah.
So when you went from a solo project to a band, how did that affect the songwriting? Are you still? I assume you're still the primary songwriter in the band.
Yeah, usually the kind of way we work is I'll demo a song, and then I send it out to the guys, and they basically write everything else for them, their parts. So I'll usually send like a vocal track with the guitar, maybe with the drum machine or something like that, and then we kind of go from there.
So this will be the second album that you've done as a band then. So kind of your sophomore album as a band. And, you know, I think one of the things listening to this album that I've really picked up on is you guys are really gelled as a band and really are, you know, writing songs as a unit. And one of the things that kind of came across to me is, you know, all of the songs have all of these licks in them and these really hooky, catchy melodies in them, but they're kind of, the melodies are distributed across, you know, some are guitar songs. I think She Was Crying Sugar has this really catchy, you know, bass riff going on. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think it's just kind of impressive that, you know, I think you've been a band for about a year and a half or so, Corey was saying.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to have gelled that way and kind of be on the same page.
Yeah, I think, well, I think overall we kind of all done music before, and I think a big like kind of rule in our band is like we don't try to step on each other's toes, and so Mike and Ben really hold down kind of the rhythm section. Ben's a really melodic player anyway with bass, and then the vocal is obviously what the melody would be, but the way that I think, and Corey could speak to this too, but the way I approach the guitar in the band too is that him and I kind of play this counter melody back and forth. So it's a lot of fun to play that way, and like we kind of leave space for each other. We don't. I mean, it's a whole band, so.
Yeah, it's an interesting way that things come together with this group, and it's something that like I've never really experienced with other groups before. But Shawn lays down the structure of everything when he writes the tunes, and basically kind of like sketches everything out in his demos to the point where it's pretty fleshed out, and then sends it out to each of us, and we're all fortunate to have, you know, our own like kind of recording setups in our households, with the exception of like we don't have a whole like drum studio, so we can just kind of plug in and write our parts and kind of tune our parts, you know, to fit that, you know, that mold, and then we go into the studio for drums. But we have the ability to kind of just like send files back and forth to one another, so that writing process is very like, you know, it's very 2020. It's very like, you know, we've all got access to a lot of technology that helps us to be efficient with that sort of thing. And whenever we've got new stuff coming out, we're like constantly texting back and forth about ideas and kind of bouncing things.
Yeah, and you know, the ideas on the forthcoming album, especially Sweet Tooth, you know, again, it's just kind of, you know, everybody seems to be kind of in lockstep, and you know, the melody kind of transitions between the instrumentation, but it doesn't, you know, it's all fluid and it's all seamless. And, you know, I think it really keeps the songs interesting, you know, across the album. I mean, they all have the same feel, but, you know, you're kind of constantly, oh, here's a keyboard part coming in, or here's a guitar part, you know, that's taking the lead on the melody and the riff.
Yeah, we do that all purposefully. I think it's kind of like, I don't know, we're trying to do something different a little bit. I mean, a lot of our sound is kind of just taking from the past and stuff like that, and trying to update it and stuff. The aesthetic choices we do and stuff is also part of it as well. But yeah, I like to have a band that's like kind of doing something a little bit different, even though it might be kind of far out there in some aspects. But like Corey was saying with the recording at home and stuff, like we're basically a band out of necessity. Like I always say this as a joke, but it honestly is true. Like we fly by the seat of our pants in our group. Like everything is kind of just like quick decisions and stuff like that, and we've been really fortunate to like pull it off.
Right.
So I say like I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop on that kind of process, but we pull it off. I mean, we all have jobs and everything too, so it's hard to like, you know, coordinate stuff, but we get it done. So.
Yeah, and it's another, you know, it's another thing where I think, you know, listening to the album too, even if you're not really into pop, I think you can definitely appreciate that you guys are really good at what you're doing, and these are really well crafted songs. You know, it's one of these albums where, you know, I think you know, you don't have to be into, you know, this type of music to really enjoy the album, which is, to me, is saying a lot.
Well, thank you. That's really high praise. Honestly, thank you.
So yeah, and one of the other things I want to talk about is you guys have really interesting videos you've put together for the songs. You know, the She Was Crying Sugar is, I don't know exactly how to describe the animation that you did for it, but it's a really interesting video. You did a video for one of the songs of Fuzzy and the Surfs. I don't have the top of my head. That was you guys as Muppets.
Right.
Yeah.
So why did you give us a little background and putting all these, kind of you're putting these videos together?
So She Was Crying Sugar, just to circle back to that, that was like a claymation stop motion animation. And shout out to Tommy Sims and Joe Ludwig and Ann Volrath for putting all that together, because that, if you know anything about stop motion, it takes a ton of blood, sweat, and tears to do all that. And I think he said he averaged like an hour per second of footage. So that was kind of like a Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where we were kind of embedded as, live action actors in the claymation, where, some storyline of an evil Peep and, kind of Candyland enemies taking over, trying to attack us, etc. So that was a blast. But circling back to the puppets are no longer a part of the Sweet Tooth image, but that was very much part of the last album, and it was the cover of the last album as well. And I'm gonna pass this one off to Shawn, because I know the puppets are near and dear to his heart. I think they're probably still living in your
I probably have. I've got some here. Here's so we still have them, but
Right.
It was kind of like a fart. I mean, the last album we did when when our band got together, we started working on like a new album, and Corey, and I've said this story before, but Corey and I are basically kind of coming up with ideas, and one of the ideas was to do like kind of a spoof on like 1960s pop groups, and then we just were like, why don't we just make ourselves Muppets? And then once we had the Muppets made, then we were like, well, let's make a video where we go into these Muppets, and the song Denny kind of perfectly encapsulates that transition, because I mean the lyrics kind of go along with kind of a mind-altering experience, so we kind of did that. And then once that was like kind of well received, then we kind of were just getting more creative with our videos and trying to push the envelope. And she was Crying Sugar. That was like 6 months of planning ahead of time. So we had planned all these videos out like well in advance and stuff, because it's just a lot of work. So
but with puppets, you got to mention Killing Time, right? Like the puppets had one last resurgence in Killing Time, which was kind of like the icing on the cake for the last album, and excited to announce that one's going to be making the rounds of some film festivals this year too. That another Joe Ludwig, Tommy Sims project, but we spent some time at UWM filming a pretty brutal camp scene where the puppets kind of strike back and kind of go after us one by one, backstage of a kind of PBS local access children's camping show. And so that one's gonna be, what is it, like there's a film festival in Puerto Rico
and in Indiana. So for people just like listening, so we'd use the puppets in 2 videos. The Denny video was the one where we turned into them, and then the second video was for Killing Time, which is kind of a slasher spoof where the puppets kind of take over and we all unfortunately get slayed. So
well, definitely very cool that you can get some more traction out of them. I imagine they were a lot of work to put them together.
Yeah.
Shout
out to Ryan Lowe.
Yeah, Ryan Lowe from Milwaukee actually made those for us. So I had hooked up with him on Facebook, and then he was like, I told him about the project, and he was totally down for doing it. So thank you to Ryan.
So are you guys writing the scripts for the videos as well? Because you're telling more of a story in your videos, as it's not just using different animation or
well, they're all based on true stories. Just kidding.
We kind of have an idea of what we want to do, and then we kind of look for people that will kind of collaborate with us. So it's more of a collaborative process. So we're always looking for like creative people to kind of like bounce ideas off of and work with, to try to make it something bigger than just us as well. So we've been fortunate with finding Tommy and Joe, and then Eric Dollister, who's also a Milwaukee filmmaker we've worked with before as well. And then we've actually done a couple of the videos ourselves as well, which is just us doing it for the first time. I mean, it's like a crash course in videography and editing and things like that. And so just to put
some of our early ones out. Yeah, some of the early ones, when you see a lot of the scenes that are out of focus, you know that those are the homemade ones.
That's me as the cameraman.
So the new album is going to be titled Sweet Tooth. It comes out in September.
September 8th.
September 8th.
Yeah.
And it'll be available on your Bandcamp page. And do you have any plans for physical copies?
I think we might once things open up. Right now, it's kind of hard to have people buying stuff. We did a vinyl last time, so just depends on how it's received and basically a timeline when we can start playing live again. Because most of the stuff we sold was when we were playing live. So
right, okay. So new album is Fuzzysurf. Or I'm sorry, the new album is Sweet Tooth by Fuzzysurf. The Bandcamp page is fuzzysurf.bandcamp.com. Do you guys have fuzzysurf.com as well is your website where you can check out all the videos that we've talked about?
Yes. Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you guys. Really appreciate it. We're going to hear a couple more tunes from Sweet Tooth.
Awesome.
Thank you,
Craig.
Thank you.